Below is a complete, chronological, novel-style full storyline of the RMS Titanic, from conception to legacy, written as a long, continuous historical narrative. It is designed to read like a full book chapter, not a short summary. If you later want exactly 10,000 words, split into chapters, or written in a dramatic, cinematic, simple English, academic style, tell me and I'll refine it. The full story of the RMS Titanic image. Chapter 1. A world obsessed with progress. At the dawn of the 20th century, the world believed it was unstoppable. The Industrial Revolution had transformed cities into engines of steel and smoke. Electricity illuminated the night, and human confidence reached heights never known before. Nations competed not only in armies and empires, but in technology, luxury, and prestige. Nowhere was this rivalry more visible than on the North Atlantic Ocean. Crossing the Atlantic was the great challenge of the age. Millions of immigrants traveled from Europe to America seeking opportunity, while wealthy elites crossed for business and pleasure. The ocean liners that carried them were more than ships. They were symbols of national pride. Two British shipping companies dominated this race, Cunard Line and White Star Line. Cunard focused on speed, while White Star decided on something different: size, luxury, and comfort. Thus began the dream of the Olympic-class liners: Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. Among them, Titanic would become the most famous ship in history. Chapter 2. Birth of a Giant. Construction of the Titanic began on March 31, 1909, at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. Over 15,000 workers labored day and night, often in dangerous conditions. Rivets were hammered by hand. Steel plates were hoisted into place by massive gantry cranes. Men died during construction, crushed, burned, or fallen, but such losses were considered the price of progress. The Titanic was unprecedented. 882 feet long, 46,328 tons, 9 decks, 16 watertight compartments, 3 enormous propellers, 2 reciprocating steam engines, and 1 turbine engine. She was not officially labeled unsinkable, but newspapers and public belief treated her as such. Her watertight compartments were believed capable of keeping her afloat, even if several were flooded. The ship was launched on May 31, 1911, sliding into the River Lagan before thousands of spectators. After months of interior work, Titanic was ready for service. Chapter 3. The Floating Palace. The Titanic was less a ship and more a floating city. First-class passengers enjoyed luxury beyond imagination. A grand staircase crowned with glass dome, Turkish baths, swimming pool, gymnasium, fine dining salons, private promenades. Second-class accommodations rivaled first class on many other ships. Third-class passengers, mostly immigrants, were housed more modestly, but even they experienced better conditions than on most liners. The ship carried all layers of society: millionaires and aristocrats, professionals and merchants, families seeking a new life in America. Each deck represented a different world, rarely mixing, yet all bound together by fate. Chapter 4. The Passengers. On board were some of the most prominent figures of the age: John Jacob Astor IV, one of the richest men in the world; Benjamin Guggenheim, mining magnate; Isidore and Ida Strauss, co-owners of Macy's; Margaret Molly Brown, later called the unsinkable Molly Brown. Alongside them traveled farmers, laborers, and children from Ireland, Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East, many carrying everything they owned in a single bag. The Titanic carried 2,224 people in total, passengers, 1,316. Crew. Chapter 5. Departure. On April 10, 1912, Titanic departed Southampton, England. Crowds gathered to watch the great ship sail. Some waved, some cried. No one imagined what lay ahead. The ship stopped at Cherbourg, France, then Queenstown, now Coburg, Ireland, where final passengers boarded. Queenstown would be the last glimpse of land for many. By April 11th, Titanic headed west into the open Atlantic. Chapter 6. Life at Sea. The voyage began peacefully. First-class passengers dined on multi-course meals. Music played in the lounges. Children explored the decks. The ship's Marconi wireless operators sent passenger messages across the ocean, luxury telegrams that would later delay life-saving warnings. The weather grew colder. Ice warnings were received from other ships, but such messages were common in April, and Titanic maintained speed, about 22 knots. Captain Edward J. Smith, nearing retirement, was confident. The sea was calm, visibility seemed clear, but calm water hides danger. Chapter 7. The night of April 14th, 1912. Sunday night was bitterly cold. The ocean was unusually still, no waves breaking against icebergs to reveal them. At 11:40 p.m., lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted a dark shape ahead. "Iceberg right ahead!" The warning came too late. The Titanic struck the iceberg along her starboard side. The impact felt minor. Many passengers barely noticed. But beneath the waterline, steel plates buckled and seams burst open. 6 compartments were breached. The ship could survive 4. Titanic was doomed. Chapter 8. Realization and Denial. Ship designer Thomas Andrews inspected the damage and delivered the terrible truth. The ship would sink in about 2 hours. Captain Smith ordered lifeboats prepared. But there was a fatal flaw. Only 20 lifeboats, enough for about half the people on board. This shortage complied with outdated regulations based on tonnage, not passenger count. Many passengers refused to believe the ship was sinking. Lifeboats were lowered half empty. Women and children first. Men stepped back or didn't. Chapter 9. Courage and Chaos. Image as panic spread, heroism emerged. The band played to calm passengers, continuing until the end. Isidor Strauss refused a lifeboat, choosing to stay with his wife. Crew members guided strangers to safety. Some lifeboats launched into darkness, surrounded by screams. Third-class passengers struggled through locked gates and confusing corridors. Language barriers and delayed access cost many their lives. The final moments. At 2:18 a.m., the ship's lights flickered. The bow plunged downward. The Titanic broke in two. The stern rose into the air before crashing back into the sea. Within minutes, the great ship vanished beneath the Atlantic. The ocean filled with cries, hundreds of people freezing in the icy water, which was near -2 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Most died within minutes. The silence afterward was unbearable. Chapter 11, Rescue. The RMS Carpathia, responding to Titanic's distress calls, arrived around 4 a.m. Lifeboats were collected one by one. Only 705 people survived. Over 1,500 died. The Carpathia carried survivors to New York, where crowds waited in grief and disbelief. Chapter 12. Shock and Blame. The world was stunned. How could the unsinkable ship sink? Investigations in Britain and America uncovered painful truths. Ignored ice warnings, excessive speed, insufficient lifeboats, poor emergency training. Public trust in technology was shaken. Chapter 13. Changes to the world. Because of Titanic, lifeboat laws were changed, International Ice Patrol was created, ships were required to maintain 24-hour radio watch, maritime safety standards were transformed forever. The tragedy saved countless lives in the decades that followed. Chapter 14. Discovery of the Wreck. Image. For decades, Titanic rested unseen, 12,500 feet beneath the ocean. In 1985, Dr. Robert Ballard discovered the wreck. The bow sat upright like a ghostly cathedral. The stern lay shattered. Personal items, shoes, plates, suitcases remained as silent witnesses. Chapter 15. The Legend Lives On. Books, documentaries, songs, and films, especially James Cameron's 1997 movie, cemented Titanic in popular culture. But beyond romance and spectacle lies a deeper lesson. Titanic was not just a ship. It was a mirror of humanity, our ambition, our pride, our compassion, and our fragility. Conclusion. A ship that never finished its voyage. The Titanic sailed for only 4 days, yet its story has endured for over a century. Steel rusts, oceans change, but memory remains, and as long as humanity builds, dreams, and dares the unknown, the story of the Titanic will never truly sink.